Welcome back to another Q&A video. As always, everything is timestamped. If you have questions, leave them down below. So with that said, let's get started. Are you wearing cushions under your shirt to make your traps look bigger? No guys, I just have really big traps, and whenever I buy shirts, this is the side effect. You see, I didn't used to have this problem in the past. Like, even if you watch my older videos, the shirt sleeves, they would never come up this high. But ever since I got yoked, guys, I literally cannot buy off the fucking rack anymore. It becomes a problem for me. It's always too tight around the traps, and it's like the shirts don't fit properly. I have to go an extra size just to make it look normal. It's a very weird thing, guys, but when you get yoked, okay, and particularly the neck and the trap area, shit is not going to fit you right up here. I guarantee you, it's going to look weird around the trap and shoulder area, and then the neck's going to be super tight. And it's weird because I've been wearing like regular t-shirts my whole life, and I never had this problem until 2016, 2017. So yeah, this little bulging thing that you see, sorry bro, my traps are just that big. As you can see, there's no cushion of any type. That's just what I'm dealing with. So yeah, next question. What do you think about replacing back squats completely with front squats? I have a lingering injury to my lower back that back squats irritate, but front squats don't bother it. Well, then it's very simple. Just do front squats. You see, you don't have to be restricted to the barbell back squat if you have an injury or if you just don't want to do it, period. There's no rule that states you must do a barbell back squat. Personally, I don't even do squats at all, like zero squats. Why? Because I'm content with my leg size. They're 25.5 inches. I'm 5'6.5" in height. So I don't got to work my legs with squats and shit. For me, it maintains just fine with heavy pulls. And the same thing for you. If you feel that the front squat gives you all the benefits you need and you're not a competitive power lifter, in fact, you don't compete in anything that does not require the back squat, then fuck it. You don't have to do it. You can do front squat, zerker squat, whatever variation you like. It's all up to you. So yeah, you can do whatever you like. And I think the front squat is a fantastic alternative. It'll automatically raise your back squat. You know, it'll build amazing thoracic extension, wrist mobility, just hip mobility in general. It's a great freaking exercise, and I would totally recommend it. Absolutely. So yeah, next question. What ways can you work the eccentric for chest? Well, probably the easiest way would be to do dumbbell flies of various types. Off an incline, flat, decline. Same thing for like cable flies where you get the weighted stretch at the bottom. That's the best way to work the eccentric, you know. Or you could do like overload training with the bench press. Like some guys, they recommend heavy negatives. I don't really do that because I believe that if you don't follow it up by a concentric, you're not really gaining that much strength in the movement itself. So I would actually prefer something like the slingshot, because at least the slingshot allows you to lower the weight, right? And then you can actually bounce it off your chest. Well, not bounce, but I'm saying like you can press it off. So I would probably advise something like a slingshot bench as opposed to just standard negatives. That's just my opinion. And then you can also do something like the weighted dip, which allows for extreme weighted stretch in the chest. Some guys actually tear their pecs off this lift. That's how intense the stretch is. So weighted stretching on the dips should give you really good benefits. And then, you know what? One final recommendation. Try bottom ups on the dumbbell press. Just go really, really deep, like stretch it out and just do like quarter reps at the bottom and you'll feel your chest pumping up like crazy. So those are just some ideas of working the eccentric for your chest. Next question. Hey Alex, my calculated 1 rep max for bench is much higher than what I can actually put up. Any advice on how to make my body better suited for a 1 rep max? Yeah, that's perfectly normal, man. 1 rep max calculators are usually inaccurate. You can watch my video where I discuss more about that. But to answer your question, if you want to get better at the 1 rep max, practice the 1 rep max or peak for it. Like the thing is, you're probably not doing high intensity work. You've likely been following a bodybuilding program or just doing high volume, and then one day you decided to do 1 rep max, and then boom, you're completely off. That's because your nervous system is not conditioned. So I'm going to recommend that you either run a peaking system where you're gradually going to work up to that 1 rep max, or you do something like concurrent where you're maxing out every week on special movements, or just do more high intensity work. And then eventually your 1 rep max, you become more proficient at doing it. But that's the thing, guys. You actually have to do higher percentages if you want to max it out. That's why peaking exists, okay? Powerlifters do this for a very specific reason. So with that said, next question. Pause bench press can break a bench press plateau. Can a pause bicep curl, calf raise, or wrist curl break a plateau? Absolutely. See, that's called being creative, and I like the way you're thinking. It's good that you're able to expand your mind beyond just the big three. You see, in what world does it state that you can only do pause bench, pause squat, pause deadlift? Why not pause overhead press, pause bicep curl? What about partials? How come you can't do a pin press overhead or a pin curl? Ever thought about doing that? What about bands? Can you just use bands on the big three? No. You can do bands on your overhead press. You can use bands on curls even. That's actually what a cable is very similar to a band, you know? That's why it's so effective in pumping up your biceps. So yeah, you can absolutely use special variations on accessory work. That's actually, I made a video a few days ago called how to get strong as fuck on accessories, right? And the key point of that video was that you need to train these lifts like competition movements. If you do that, you're gonna get mad strong. So I absolutely believe that if you do like pause, bicep curls at the bottom, you know, you do all kinds of different variations, stuff like that, your standard curl will definitely increase and you will get bigger and stronger for it. So that's a great freaking idea, man. I like the way you think. Next question. Hey, Alex, what would you do to increase speed off the floor in the deadlift specifically? Okay. First of all, I would start doing a lot of deficit deadlifts because typically speaking, when your speed is not good off the floor, it's because you're weak off the floor. So the best way to build that type of strength is by doing similar joint angles, right? So not doing a rack pull above the knee, but something like a deficit deadlift or just a standard deadlift. Something where you're going to be doing a deep range of motion and it's harder than the regular deadlift. Even stiff-legged deadlifts will work just fine for this purpose. But try to get a deep range of motion deadlift. That's really going to build strength off the floor and it's going to make you more explosive when it's time to do the true one-rep max, right? My next recommendation would be to do band deadlifts, right? Band deadlifts make you very, very explosive because the weight gets heavier at the top. And if you're too slow, you're not going to be able to lock it out. So it teaches you to rip weights off the floor. It teaches you to be very, very fast. Otherwise, the bands snap you back down and you fail to lock out. So band deadlifts are phenomenal. And then finally, I'm going to say do speed pulls. That's right. It can be with bands or without bands. But when you do your volume training, try to allot a certain time period where you'll be using the dynamic effort method. I found that for me, this made a massive difference. And I know a lot of powerlifters use it. Guys at Westside thrive on this. You know, you can do 10 sets of 2 deadlifts with 30-second rest intervals, throw in some bands in there too if you want. I think you'll benefit greatly from it. So yeah, those would be some ideas in raising your deadlift strength off the floor. So yeah, give it a shot and let me know how it goes for you. Next question. Difference between deadlifting with short bands versus standard long band. Feels a little goofy with the long band pulling horizontally under your feet. Yeah, they're quite different. First of all, the tensions are not the same. With a long band, it's going to be a lot more varied because they're longer. So the strength curve is very different. Whereas with short bands, they're short and it's pretty much, it's just going to be the same thing every time. And you'll find with the short band, it's more, like it feels more smooth. Whereas with the long bands, it feels like choppy throughout the lift, right? On top of that, the tensions are not the same. Short monsters are not the same as long monsters. The long monsters is kind of the same as short lights. So the long adds one tension up over the shorts. Okay, so if you're using average long, that's the same thing as short strong in most cases. So you gotta be careful of that when you're factoring in these tensions. Otherwise, you could be misrepresenting what your actual strength is. Okay, and beyond that, like I don't know what else to tell you. Just go on the Elite FTS website, look at the band tension charts, look at how much tension there is per inch stretched, and it will give you more objective analysis. But yeah, I prefer the short bands. You know, it feels a lot more comfortable, a lot more smooth. And you don't have to have that, like the weight pressing on your feet. You also, it could be uneven if you set it up incorrectly, which is a bit annoying. But they both work. I just prefer to do short bands for deadlifts. Have trouble cleaning the bar for easy bar overhead extensions. Got any solutions? Yeah, just do it off pins. Like, you know, when you're doing overhead press, a seat overhead press, you start at the top and then you lower yourself and then you start doing it. Well, you can do the same thing for your overhead extensions. You don't have to clean it off the floor and then press it overhead and then do an extension. No, that's just wasting energy. You could sit down and set it up and then just do it from there. Like hell, you could even do it in the seated military press station. Just get creative. Just find a way that you can unrack it and start from there. Just don't clean it. It's very simple. So that's that. Next question. Alex, what do you think of Candito's novice program for strength and hypertrophy? Yeah, frequency is 2 times a week, but I've been making really good gains for the past 3 months. You said it yourself. You've been making really good gains for the past 3 months, so I would say, why change it? I mean, Candito's a great guy. He provides informative content. He's also a competitive powerlifter. I think he knows a thing or two about strength training. And if you're making good gains off his program, just like the thousands of others that have, then isn't that an indicator that's good? So I would say keep doing it. Roll with it if you want. Do you think it is better to train 2 times a week or 3 times a week as a novice? Your novice program recommends to train 3 times, but when I do not recover very quickly and I don't feel 100% my next workout. Thanks. Yeah, generally speaking, for novices, I recommend 3 times a week because it makes the most sense. Novices can recover fairly easily from a 3 times a week setup, even if the volume is high. So you can do like a 5x5 squat 3 times a week. It's fantastic. You'll add 15 pounds a week to your squat. That's 30 pounds over 2 weeks, 60 pounds over a month. If you compare that to twice a week, well, you're bleeding out a lot of sessions here, which can cost you some gains. So you might be losing 20 pounds less off your squat. And at the end of the year, that can make a massive difference. So I recommend that you do the 3 times a week option if you want to get the best strength gains possible as a novice. It makes the most sense. Now, you're saying you have trouble recovering. Well, maybe you should lower the volume on my novice program. Instead of doing the maximum sets and reps, keep it down to 3, And if that's still a problem, maybe drop the accessories. And if that is still a problem, then it is not my program that's the issue, it's you. Maybe you're too late of a novice. Maybe you're plateauing early because you're reaching the intermediate stage. Maybe you have very bad genetics. Maybe you're not optimizing your sleep and nutrition. Maybe you have a lot of lifestyle stress and stuff like that. But yeah, man, you have to think about these things. I generally recommend 3 times a week as a novice. I just think that you'll get the fastest strength gains possible. So that's that. Next question. Whenever I do heavier neck curls lying on the bench, after I'm done, I get up. I feel like I have a pump in my 2 upper abs, but my neck is also pumped. Should I do this movement controlled or in a cheating fashion? Am I doing it correctly? Yeah, man. I guess it's normal to get a bit of a pump in your upper abs when you're doing a neck curl, especially when the weight is super heavy. But if you feel like excruciating pain and the ab pain is kind of like equivalent to your neck pain, then I would say that you're cheating too much. You're probably crunching the weight and it's not giving you the best neck gains. So in that case, it's very simple. Drop the weight and focus on the mind-muscle connection. That's right. Sometimes this is what you got to do. And I know with the neck, a lot of guys are cheating it. A lot of guys, they're pulling on the plates, they're turning into a pullover, and they're crunching. So you got dudes that are neck curling like 90 pounds, but they got sticks for necks. That's because they're not doing it strict. See, your hands should just be handlebars, right? So you should not be pulling on it, and your abs should not be doing a lot of crunching, right? And a good way to stop crunching is to cross your feet against the edge of the bench, so it anchors you, But really, like, close your eyes when you do the neck curl and focus on using the neck muscles exclusively. I guarantee you, if you're doing heavy enough weight with that, with good enough volume, your neck is going to grow. So I would say that the ab pump is not necessarily a bad thing, but if it's really excessive and the neck pump is not the central feature, then there's a problem. Yo, Alex, when you do your low volume day on your concurrent periodization, do you do low reps for everything, even things like rope face pulls and lateral raises? Typically speaking, yes. Although I will say for certain accessories, I roll with the higher reps. Like face pulls, on average, I'll do 3 sets of 20. I don't like doing low rep face pulls. I feel that exercises like that should be done with higher reps. Same thing if I'm doing like rotator cuff work. I'm not going to do reps of 5 on innies and outies, you know what I'm saying? So certain lifts, yes, the reps will be a little bit higher. Like I know with reverse hypers, I tend to play around with that a lot. Same thing for the standing cable crunches. Basically lower back and abs, I might increase the reps a little bit. But I would say for the vast majority of my lifts, everything is low reps. Down from the main lift, the supplementary lifts, everything is low reps. Just sometimes I'll make exceptions because certain movements, in my opinion, are better done for higher reps. But yeah, you'd be surprised, man, how much shit I'm actually doing that's high intensity. Most of it is. I would say at least 95% is low reps and low sets. So yeah, next question. Do you think rotational exercises like woodchoppers on the pulley are a good way to develop the obliques? Thanks, bro. I think that's the best way to develop the obliques. Specifically for aesthetics, twisting exercises will make a massive difference, And I know that Chris Jones made a really good video on the Pump Chasers channel where he talked about twisting and how before he would just do side bends and stuff like that, and his obliques never got that crisp look. But when he started doing the twisting, that's when they really started popping out. And I fully agree with that. I think that twisting exercises will make a huge difference in your aesthetics. So if you want like those nice obliques that come out, try twisting. I think it's, for the purpose of aesthetics, it's much better than the side bends and stuff, It's also very athletic too. In sport, you're always going to be twisting. So I love the wood chop. My favorite is actually the reverse wood chop. I used to do a lot of those in the past, and I got great results from doing it. So definitely include some rotational work. Absolutely. So yeah, next question. Hey, Alex, my wrist extremely hurt from doing push-ups. Any insight into this? Yeah, you probably don't have flexible wrists. As a result, when you do push-ups, it hurts like crazy. And if it hurts now, imagine when you're doing a planche. That's some next level wrist mobility. So my advice is to start stretching it. Simple as that. So every single day, take your hand, put it like this, okay? Just stretch it. You should be able to get pretty deep, so stretch it this way, stretch this version, stretch it downwards. You could do little rotations with your wrist. You just want to stretch your wrist every single day. Stretch it against the wall like that, Stretch them out. They're probably very tight. And if you still have wrist pain despite everything I just said, then you should do it with your fist. Do push up on your fist, but now you're going to get knuckle pain. Or just buy those little handlebar things like parallel bars, and boom, now you can get more range of motion, and you're not putting any stress on the wrist whatsoever. It's like a bench press. So yeah, those would be my solutions for you. Next question. What do you think about dumbbell deadlifts? Are they effective? Like for stiff-legged deadlifts and stuff like that, or just Romanian deadlifts, I think it's pretty good, especially at the end of a workout, and you want to just pump them up for a finisher. But in terms of like a max effort lift, not really feasible in most gyms because they only go up to 140-pound dumbbells. So, there's a weight restriction that you got to deal with. So that's why I like to do it for accessories, high volume, like stiff leg, Romanian, stuff like that. But it is, it's not right lift, man. It's very deep range of motion. It's like a super deficit deadlift, so that's always good. I mean, if you want to give it a shot, be my guest. I think it's fine. And also, like, if you do it for grip strength, then it's a pretty good alternative, especially like with fat grips on top of it. Pretty good stuff, but yeah, I think the barbell deadlift is much better. I'm a former sprinter and have tremendous knee pain whenever I do squats or deadlifts. Do you have any solutions for me? Yeah, you probably have a quad to hamstring imbalance, and in that case, you need to follow a program that emphasizes the posterior chain. So one of the steps you can start doing is leg curls every single day. Buy yourself some ankle weights and do leg curls at home. And also do band leg curls, all right? That's going to help build your hamstrings and correct some of the imbalances. I recommend 100 reps a day, all right? Accounting for each leg. Combine that with, the training itself. You should be doing a lot of posterior chain focused movements like reverse hyperextensions, reverse lunges, things of that nature. And generally speaking, what you want to do is correct the quad to hamstring imbalance. If you can do that, you're not going to have pain anymore whenever you do squats and deadlifts. And if you still do, then you probably have a form of tendonitis, and perhaps it goes beyond my understanding. But all I can say is that you got to focus more on the posterior chain and correct that imbalance, and then things should get better for you. So next question. Do you have to run a minimum number of blocks when using concurrent, or could you, in theory, override the biological law of accommodation by just using 2 variations and switching them on a per week basis? Yeah, 2 variations is really not that much. You should wait at least 4 weeks before redoing a movement. So if you do a pause standard bench press, you should wait at least a month before doing that lift again on a concurrent program, not linear, not undulating. So if you're doing it every 2 weeks, you're going to plateau and you're going to have trouble making strength gains. I just don't recommend that. However, what you can do is keep the lift the same, but make a slight little variation to it. So say week 1, you do a close grip bench. Week 2 is an overhead press. Those are your 2 lifts that you want to rotate, right? Week 3, you can do close grip bench again, but this time you add a pause. And then for week 4, you can do overhead press again, but with a pause. This way, you're still practicing the lift, but now you added a second variable to it that's going to change the lift a little bit, therefore overriding the biological law of accommodation. So if you're one of those guys that really wants to be specific with his training and you don't like to use high exercise selection in the form of bands, chains, stuff like that, well, you don't have to. That's how I like to train. I'm extremely pro West Side. I believe in the work of Louis Simmons more than anything else. So I'm going to use stuff like that. But in your case, if you want to just do pause, bench, touch, and go, rotate between those 2, be my guest. It's just not something that I'm going to do. So you could override it in 2-week intervals if you make slight adjustments. Another method, by the way, would actually be to keep the same lift, but you change the sets and reps. Kind of like a linear undulating approach. So you could do 3-week waves. For example, when you do dynamic effort bench, you're doing the same style for 3 weeks. What changes is the percentage. So you can kind of mix like concurrent with some percentage-based stuff as well. And that's going to allow you to keep the lift in for a longer period of time. So just something to think about. So that's that. Next question. Good mornings hurt my lower back like crazy, but deadlift variations don't. Should I drop the good morning? I've tried everything, but I always get pain. Fuck it then. Drop it. I know that for me, whenever I do good mornings, my lower back hurts. One time I thought like I got a really bad injury, but it was just a strain there. And it was good mornings I did it. You know, I know a lot of guys fucked up their backs doing good mornings. I would say like very, very common. I know Louis Simmons actually broke his back doing good mornings. And like a whole bunch of powerlifters have had issues with this exercise. It's just, I'm not doing it again personally. I would rather you do like a stiff-legged deadlift or a Romanian deadlift. You're going to get pretty much similar benefits, you know. It's also pretty specific to the pull itself. But yeah, like if you're getting lower back pain from good mornings, no matter what you do, just drop it, man. Or maybe like you're going too heavy and you should lower the weight tremendously and just do it for higher volume. That's an option. But I know that if you're doing a lot of singles and triples on good mornings, you know, maybe that's why you're getting pain. But yeah, if you just want to do a stiff-legged deadlift, RDL, I don't see a problem with it. I think you'll be just fine with that. So that's that. Final question of the week. Hey, Alex, does having fat for the majority of my life make it difficult to build muscle? If so, why? Well, what I've observed with personal experience is that when fatter guys enter the gym, they tend to gain strength and muscle fairly easily. Bigger guys tend to produce bigger numbers. It's just something that I've seen over the years. Whereas the guys who are naturally skinnier, they tend to recomp fairly easily, but they gain muscle at a slower rate, and their absolute strength is typically not as high as the fatter guy. This is just, again, something that I've observed. There's no science to back anything up. I'm just speaking off my experiences here, right? And then another factor you got to consider is nutrient partitioning. You know, if you were fat your whole life, maybe that's going to have an effect on your nutrient partitioning, which means you're naturally going to be in a fluffier state, which can negatively impact your aesthetics, if you will. But strength-wise, I find that fat guys, they do pretty well when they start lifting, man. Whereas the skinnier guys, they tend to have a bit more problems, but the relative strength is better. They have better nutrient partitioning, and they can stay leaner year-round. So again, I'm just speaking off some observations that I've observed. But yeah, if you were fat when you were young and now you finally cut, I don't think you're going to have any problems personally. I think you'll be just fine in gaining muscle, strength, etc. Just that you might just be naturally fluffier. Again, just something to think about. So that's that, guys. I hope you enjoyed this Q&A video. Give me some more questions down below. And with that, I'll talk to you all next time.